Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. No mask because, of course, they won today. And this is Yankees Unloaded. So, Gary, we got a fun episode. Things that, probably we should have talked about before. Things that, maybe kind of got swept under the rug a little bit just because there's been so much to cover with this team. We're really excited. I mean, this was a win against a bad baseball team, so we're not going to go too much into it. They're supposed to win this game. 4-1 doesn't mean that we can't give props to Juan Soto for hitting 3 freaking home runs. Doesn't mean we can't give props to Nestor Cortes, who, let me be honest here, Nestor has been complete garbage lately. So I will gladly take on the road 3 hits given up. That's it. 9 strikeouts. Well, it was against the White Sox. I don't give a rip. I do not care. If Nestor Cortes wants to go out there on the road and do that, by all means, he can go up against whoever he wants, as long as he's winning games for the Yankees. He gave him length, probably the most length we've gotten from a starter in I'd say maybe a month, it feels like. But yeah, we're going to be talking about those. We're going to be talking about Jazz Chisholm. Is he done? We don't know. UCL, unfortunately, ended up being worse than we were hoping for, but worse than he thought.
I wasn't thinking that was happening. I'll tell you that.
No. And then we're going to talk about the playoff bracket, because I think it's about damn time that we get into the playoffs. So it's 121 games. So I think it's time we finally start talking about how wide open this thing is and why a Yankees World Series is not out of the question. So let's get into it, Gary.
We talking money?
We're talking money. It's Juan Soto's contract.
So, Juan Soto's contract. The whole idea here is, the question is, how high are you willing to go? That's the question. And I know everybody just keeps throwing this out on Twitter. Throw a blank check. We don't care. The Yankees make more money than everybody else. All this is true, right? Like it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But the question here is, there's going to be a number that's going to be thrown out there, whether it be the Mets. I don't know exactly any other team that would be involved at that, at that price. I'd probably say it's going to be the Mets, right? Mets are going to throw out some ridiculous number. Say if the Mets go up to $700 million. Now, the reason I bring up that number is that this is a Scott Boras client. And considering what happened this last offseason, Scott Boras was embarrassed. Let's be very clear about that. Scott Boras should be embarrassed for what he did this last offseason with his top client in Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, a lot of these guys, Cody Bellinger. I know some people said that contract was good in Chicago. I didn't see it. I thought Cody Bellinger should have been landing 6 or 7 years at, a huge dollar. They didn't get that. So you fast forward to today, Scott Boras is trying to take the Yankees out back on this contract. Let's just be honest here. They're going to squeeze every penny. So if you were thinking that this was going to be some hometown discount, they might squeeze some last second discount or deferral at the very end. But Juan Soto's not signing for $450 million or $500 million when the New York Mets might go up to 700. That's not going to happen. So you guys can just wash that whole entire hope, that whole dream, that's gone. So we have to remember, $700 million is what it's going to take to eclipse Ohtani's contract, 701 to be exact. Now, that contract from Ohtani was coming in his age 30 season. They gave him a 10-year deal. So you figure $70 million a year. It's a ridiculous figure. But part of the reason the Dodgers could do that was that they had deferrals that go all the way out until the contract ends. So they're paying Ohtani $2 million a year until the deferrals start. That's insane. And the question is, will Juan Soto want to do this? Probably not, right? So you have to figure, we're going, because of Juan Soto's age, who's going to be in his age 26 season this offseason, he's probably going to get a 14-year deal. 14 years. That's a ridiculous contract, but that's what it takes to get a player like this. And when you go 14 years and you want to hover around that figure of 700 million, his age says he should do it. Considering how he's playing, he hit 3 home runs today. He's going to throw up a historic season. That figure of 705 million over 14 years, that's about $50 million a year. And Jake, I can see it. And frankly, I would do it. I wouldn't worry about it. When you're a team that makes the type of money that the Yankees make, this comes with the territory. You have to go to outlandish territory to get a contract done, whatever's necessary, because what happens if the New York Mets offer $695 million, $700 million, and the Yankees say, well, that's just a ridiculous figure, and they want to try to use logic to get Juan Soto back to pinstripes? Well, I'm here to tell you right now, if you follow logic, you're not going to want to spend $700 million on anybody. So Juan Soto's now going to go to Queens, and then what? What's the alternative for the Yankees? Is it going to be Jason Dominguez, who we all expect to be a good player, but does he ever in a million years replace Juan Soto? Never. Okay, I'm just here to tell you right now. So, Jake, I think we both agree here. Wherever this number goes, we should just do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, first off, and we discussed this, the Yankees, to be fair, have never let a guy go that has really been the guy. Robinson Cano was a part of the puzzle. Robinson Cano was very, very good. Robinson Cano was not a Juan Soto. Robinson Cano was not an Alex Rodriguez. Robinson Cano was not a Aaron Judge. So you didn't let somebody go that was essentially one of the three best players in baseball. You didn't. That was done pretty much. The Yankees were like, this is our price. Oh, Seattle can pay you more. Well, choose to make less and stay in the Bronx and be a Yankee for life, or go play meaningless baseball in Seattle. And he chose Seattle because he really wanted that facial hair. Can't blame him there.
How old was Cano when he signed that contract, by the way?
That is a great question, and I can actually
because realistically,
answer that right now.
If Robinson Cano, the player that we all grew up loving to watch in pinstripes, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
If he was 26 years old entering in to that contract, the Yankees aren't being outbid by the Mariners. Are you guys kidding me? This is partially why the Yankees were only willing to go up to roughly $200 million. And I actually remember being part of this conversation where Robbie Cano and my dad were talking about the idea of fielding other offers outside of the Yankees. And I'm going to tell you guys, my dad told Robinson Cano, take this contract, take this contract. Now, it was going to be a heavy discount to play for the Yankees, but Cano wasn't in a position of leverage. Soto is. Juan Soto is the perfect guy to bring in on this ridiculous contract. Anytime people say, well, these 10-year contracts never work, well, tell me the age of the guy that you sign. Isn't he always 29? Isn't he always 31? He is.
Yeah.
Anytime the Los Angeles Angels, you think the Angels brought in 27-year-old or 24-year-old Albert Pujols? They didn't. They brought in a 31-year-old player, 32-year-old player, signed him till his age 41 or 42 season, and then he has plantar fasciitis by his age 34 season. So we're talking about a middle-aged man, 34, 35-year-old player. That's 10 years from now for Juan Soto. Because someone actually tweeted to me today and said, well, I just never would go 10 years or go into double-digit years. It doesn't make sense. They're comparing something that has really no correlation. You're talking about players in advanced age and then a player who clearly isn't. So there are going to be people in our comment section that say this is just ridiculous. We should never go up to $700 million because it's going to hamstring what we're trying to do down the road. Well, I
just don't agree with that.
There's no salary cap. This isn't the NFL. This isn't CeeDee Lamb's contract negotiation to which he's going through right now with Jerry Jones.
Brandon Ayuk with the
why, right? Partially why those things occur is because that money that you pay an NFL quarterback or an NFL receiver, no matter how good they are, that money is a pie chart. It comes from someone else's pocket, off of someone else's plate. That's the way the NFL works. You only get about $230 million to spend. All the teams have the same amount of money to spend, and that's the way it works. It's not like that in baseball. The Yankees this year are spending $300 million. That's our budget. Now, obviously, people can complain all they want about the job Brian Cashman's done with that budget, but make no mistake about it. If they wanted to go up to $400 million because they wanted a Corbin Burns and somebody else, they could have done that. They could have just chosen to do it. So my whole point here, you can't use logic and say, well, we don't want to go over the cap. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. It's just a figment of our imagination that I think ownership and I don't know, a couple beat writers really honed in on the fan base and just said, well, this is just a ridiculous amount of money to pay a player. We can't pay everybody. Well, actually, to be perfectly logical, they could. They just want to convince you that they shouldn't. And that's where a lot of Yankees fans are, unfortunately. So here on this podcast, we're going to vouch for Juan Soto to get paid whatever is necessary. We don't care if it goes to $700 million. If it goes to $590 for whatever reason, great. But if it comes down to it and gun to our head, we have to spend the $700, what's the alternative? We just have to.
So Juan Soto right now, he's 26 or he's going to be 26.
He's going to be 26.
He's going to be 26 in October. Okay. So looking at the last guy who was signed at age 26, the last guy who was the most highest paid, right? Rafael Devers. Okay. Devers signed a 10-year, $313.5 million deal. So that puts him at 31.35 million per year. Okay. Devers is fantastic. He's just a great player. But you're talking about Juan Soto. Devers would not be one of the two best hitters in the Yankees lineup. He would be third.
Yes.
Juan Soto is currently not better than Aaron Judge, but he's also currently 25, will be 26. So when you really think about it, Mike Trout, when he signed at age 27, he got $426.5 million, 12-year deal with 35.5 average annual value. Okay.
Yep.
Mike Trout. And I think that's the best comparison. That was in 2019. So there's inflation. That money.
I think we can all agree there.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, come on. That's like
there's inflation at Taco Bell. Of course there's inflation on these contracts.
Box of cereal costs $9 now. But look,
totally agree.
Mike Trout made $35.5 million average annual value back in 2019 at age 27. Soto is a full year younger at signing. And we're talking about this being 5 years ago. So you now just had Ohtani. And I'll say this, Gary, I don't think he's going to eclipse Ohtani. Because I think the argument there is, and I think he'll be understanding of that. I think he'd like to, but I think he'll be understanding. Ohtani was signed as a two-way player by a team that is willing to spend whatever it takes. And it is so ridiculously more than everyone else. His average annual value, $70 million. We can't even look at it as $70 million because it's deferred over so many years. It's deferred.
I was just going to say he wouldn't have gotten $700 million without deferrals, because that $70 million is
the
like
70 average annual value isn't even true. He's not even making that average annual. So you take his $70 million, you take Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, who are paid the exact same average annual value.
43.
They're 43.3.
Okay.
They're both tied for second. Okay, which is insane. They both signed contracts, 37 Max Scherzer and 39 for Justin Verlander. To be fair, Justin Verlander signed a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal. No, 2-year deal, and Scherzer signed a 3-year deal. So I think it's got to be somewhere in between that, right? I do. 43.3 and 70 million. Okay. And I mean, I'll tell you right now, I don't care what they pay him. Honestly, I do not care. If he made $1 billion, like if that was his total value, I wouldn't give a rip. Because
so do you agree? You just said between what number? You said
70 and 43.3 average annual.
Perfect. And how many years do you expect him to get? If you had to guess, because remember, he's going into his age 26 season. Do you think his contract's going to take him till he's 40?
I mean, at that point, it's up to him. Does he want it to be a long contract? Does he not? I mean, here's what I think.
Boris does.
Boris
is a 71-year-old man who always gets the long. He's looking for the long contract.
But think about Garrett Cole, though, and the opt-out. I think he's going to want language like that in his contract. And it's not to leave the Yankees. I think it would be to essentially make more money, keep up with the trend. And I think we're going to start to see that, Gary. I think we're going to start to see a lot more opt-outs, a lot more creative language. I mean, we see players get stuck on teams forever, you know? So I do see something like that. Now, I'm not saying it will 100% happen, but I think at the very least, Juan Soto's average annual value has to be around 50 million. Around.
So gun to your head, do you think he gets 14 years? Because 14 years takes him to 40. Most players want to go to their age 40 season in your big contract.
14 years.
Just guess on the years. That's it.
Because that's tough. Because, I mean, I'm like, you have to understand something here. There's only been one 14-year contract signed.
Well, what's his name? I think Tatis was close. 13
He's the
years?
Only one. 14 years.
Okay, Tatis was it. Right. Now,
Bryce
you know
Harper,
what our comment
13,
section will say? I
Stanton,
guarantee
13.
you, Jake. Yeah, Jake, let me guarantee you something. There are going to be people in our comment section, and there will be people who even ignore this whole disclaimer I just gave you, even though I'm saying it. They're going to say, well, why would we go 14 years? 14 years it's not opportunistic for the organization at all. I don't want the player in 14 years or 13 or 12. Yeah, obviously. You don't get the player if you don't do what he's asking for. Now, if another organization says we're willing to go 14 years, well, guess what? If Juan Soto's to be a part of your organization even next year, you are going 14 years. That's how this works. And if you think, well, then if we go 14 years, I'm not touching that. Well, then you're not a part of Juan Soto. So now it comes to what do we do next?
And there are always ways to get out of that. Like you can trade that at the end of his deal if he isn't,
technically, yes.
There are ways you can send a prospect if he's completely lost it. I also want to point something out. This is going to sound very anti-Yankees, but it is what it is. I know people won't like my negativity here, but I filtered the years to get the Tatis thing. Tatis signed when he was 21. He signed a 14-year deal. Okay. Bryce Harper, when he was 26, signed a 13-year deal. Stanton signed a 13-year deal at 25, right? Then you had Julio Rodriguez signed a 12-year deal at 21. Okay, you still with me? Bobby Witt Jr. signed a 11-year deal at 23. Here's my thing. I feel like the Yankees, they actually, and it's amazing to me, because we're always talking about how that they're the cheapest rich organization that there is, right?
Hear it a lot.
Why is it then that they don't sign guys early? Why? Why did they wait to sign Aaron Judge until he became a free agent? And they
do you want me to answer that question honestly?
Yes.
I believe the New York Yankees never sign players early, especially star players, really good players, in large part because they're already underway to spending. That's why. I'm not saying that it's correct, it's the right way to go about your business. I'm not saying any of these things. The Yankees usually are trying to find ways to dial back while also trying to take steps forward in terms of competing. Now, signing these contracts, like remember, when Julio Rodriguez is given this big extension, the only reason they're giving him that extension is because they're buying out those arbitration years and they're buying out inflation for 12, 13 years. That's what they're doing. The Yankees are already spending $300 million. So let's just say the Yankees decided we'd love to have Luis Gil be a part of this organization for the next 12 years. He'd be awesome. Not saying they should do it, but let's just say they were going to. The Yankees would be extending their payroll by $20 million right then and there. So the Yankees would never do that because that's going to help them get their payroll from 300 to 320. So this whole idea that the Yankees might go get a player on the trade deadline and they might bring in talent. Well, their payroll is already inflated by $20 million. They didn't even add any players to the organization. So that's my answer as to why they never do it. I know why the Mariners do it, because the Mariners know if Julio Rodriguez continues to trend the way he was trending before, he's winning home run derbies. He's in the hunt for MVP. Well, they know Julio Rodriguez is going to be asking for $600 million, right?
He's gotten, by the way,
they do
Julio
it.
Rodriguez, unlike Bobby Witt Jr., who has,
Right.
as soon as he hits age 30, he has an opt out in his contract.
Witt Jr. does?
Yeah. But keep in mind,
Okay.
that's 7 years from now.
Right.
And you're getting him at $23 million a year. That's why I give Kansas City a lot of credit for putting together that deal. By the way, they also have 4 club options, 4 years at the end of his contract. That'll probably never even be seen because he'll probably opt out.
And what's the Royals payroll total?
Oh God, I don't even know.
That's my point. $60 million. So
I'll say
does
60,
it really?
Yeah.
So does it really matter if they didn't give him the extension for a Bobby Witt Jr., right? If they didn't do it, they'd be paying Witt Jr. 25 to 30 million in arbitration in like 3 years, right? He'd be a rich man, very similar to what you see at a Juan Soto right now. He's on arbitration, final year of arb. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to ask for $50 million annually. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. is a bona fide superstar. His numbers are actually comparable with Mike Trout early in his career. That's ridiculous. So what do you think Mike Trout would be asking for if he hit open free agency as a Kansas City Royal? Well, let me answer that for you. He wouldn't be a Royal. No chance. So that's why they did it. So just to answer your question, the Yankees will never do these early extensions unless it's for a player like Aaron Hicks or some random player that's making like 70 million, but they're never going to sign a superstar early. Never.
And I mean, look, I think Julio Rodriguez is incredibly overrated, but I understood why they made the deal, and I applaud them for doing it because they have him now at around 19 million a year, and there's no player opt out. So he is a Mariner. He's a free agent in 2035. He can't opt out of this deal.
It's insane.
And guess what? He even signed a contract where there's a club option in 2030.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And by the way, I know I told you this math before the show went live, but I actually want to illustrate something, at least budget-wise, because there are a lot of people who have described this Yankees, you brought it up earlier, as a cheap organization. They're still spending $300 million.
A cheap, rich organization.
A cheap, rich organization. And I kind of agree. They're still spending a lot of money, but it obviously could be better. But here's the point. If you ask people, who is it on this roster that you really wouldn't lose any sleep if they were gone next year? Okay. Like you like the person, right? But you can absolutely see a replacement in order for 2025. The players that a lot of folks have named, okay? Anthony Rizzo, Alex Verdugo, Gleyber Torres, Clay Holmes, right? We heard those names. And guess what? Each and every one of those players either have a club option, which will likely be declined at high money. And that player is Anthony Rizzo, who's he's set to make, I believe, $19 million. I actually have it right here. $17 million in 2025. That is probably being declined. Okay.
No,
so
that is being declined.
That is being declined. So if that's being declined, Alex Verdugo, he's an unrestricted free agent. He made $8.7 million. Hang with me here. Clay Holmes making over $6 million, right? So all of these things occur. Let's just project, okay, whether or not fans agree or not, $705 million a year, like $705 million total contract for Juan Soto over 14 years, bringing him to his age 40 season, no deferrals. That is a clean $50.3 million a year, okay? It's an insane contract, nuts, breaks Ohtani's record. If we let all those players I just said go, we're not talking replacements, the team, their payroll is $23 million less than it is right now. So spare me with this idea that the Yankees just are waiting on some discount. They're waiting on something to happen. They shouldn't be waiting on anything. The Yankees should win this negotiation. There's no reason. Like, should the Yankees spend on other players this offseason? Yes. Of course. But when you tell me the budget, based on the budget you guys artificially created, it went down by letting players who really weren't key contributors this year at all. Okay. Verdugo, below average offensive player this year, an average defender. He's been bad for 2 months. He's just starting to pick it up, but right. No one's losing sleep to lose Verdugo. Clay Holmes, most people have told me, we don't have a closer. Gary, where's the closer? Jake, what are we doing at closer? We need one, right? They told us this.
Yeah.
You're losing sleep to lose Clay Holmes. I'm not. I would like to have him a part of this roster, but in middle relief. He's not a dude I'm waiting to come out of the bullpen, and I'm damn sure not paying $10 million a year to bring him back. So you mean to tell me Anthony Rizzo wasn't on this team this year practically. So if I'm not losing sleep losing Rizzo, it's just not happening. So this whole idea, the Yankees coming into negotiation, they should be the most aggressive. They should be the biggest threat to sign Juan Soto. Nobody should be outbidding them. And when it comes to hometown discounts, I don't want to hear anything about the Yankees wasting money, going too big of a contract. It's going to be the next so-and-so. It's, oh, look at Mike Trout. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. Don't care. We're not in a position to take that type of risk. And I just think based on the situation the Yankees are in, and given who's potentially coming off this roster, the Yankees are in a spot where they can't say no to Juan Soto. And frankly, you've got a credit card with no budget. So go ahead and pull it out.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think I like the 14 years, $700 million. I think that no, I think
I love how you just said that like you're about to put it on like FAFSA, like you're about to start paying for it.
No, like, I mean, I think 50 is the sweet spot. I mean, I don't know if he goes 14 years, but he could. I mean, let's just say he goes, I don't know, 13 and 48, right? So 13 times 48, that puts him at 624. I could see that as well. But I mean, it's going to be over 600 million. I think people need to prepare themselves. And I think I have kind of a theory. We have no idea what the Yankees are doing. I think they're keeping it close to the vest. I think Hal is going to be like, no, you're not getting him. And I think he's going to enjoy it when they go and because basically I told you this, I said this multiple times on the show. Mets fans have already like pre-ordered his freaking jersey from China.
Did their Ohtani jerseys get in yet? Or did they send those? The
Yamamoto ones are, incoming. They're still waiting on those. Oh, but okay. Yeah. And the Aaron Judge ones. But anyway, look, Juan Soto is going to get paid out the wazoo. He deserves it. And I mean, he at a young age was making a huge impact and won a World Series. Okay, he's a big reason why the Nationals won the World Series. Let us not forget that. That was after Bryce Harper left. So he stepped up in a big way. Young kid, phenom, all of that. Nothing was too big for him. You know what else Juan Soto does very well?
What's that?
He doesn't miss games. He's always out there. You're I would actually argue that Aaron Judge wasn't paid early on because I think that they were concerned about his injury history.
And I think that's valid.
I think it is valid.
It was valid.
Because I was thinking about that. Like, why didn't they pay him early? I think that's why. And Juan Soto is exactly like you dream about the opportunity to get a guy at age 26, like the middle of his prime. You dream about that because this is somebody who is going to be the future and the present. And that's a big deal because I don't know if the Yankees are already thinking about life after Aaron Judge, but the guy's going to be 33 soon. I mean, he isn't going to be around forever. And there is going to be a time where, even though it seems like he's getting better right now, he is going to drop off. And let's be honest, what is the most concerning thing about Judge? The fact that he's playing center field at, 6'8", 280 pounds. Yeah, that's probably concerning. But no, the biggest concern is actually like just the idea in general that as he gets older, he was already getting hurt at a young age. He's a body that is not normal. That's not a normal. People aren't just 6'7", 280 pounds. Okay. So you have to actually take care of that. And that's a lot of weight putting on your feet, So I think Aaron Judge is definitely an injury risk the rest of his career. And I think Juan Soto being the exact opposite, a guy that plays the majority of just about every game in a 162 game season, a guy that you have to basically beg to take out of the lineup because he will not take a day off.
I think I have a different perspective though on health in terms of Aaron Judge. I totally get it when you say that Aaron Judge isn't going to be the version that you see today. In 7 years, Aaron Judge won't be this player. And that's just human, right? But having said this, there's not a reality where 5 years down the road, Aaron Judge is just running around center field, hitting 330 for the Yankees.
No.
It's just not going to happen. But let me say this, it doesn't need to. All that needs to happen is the Yankees have to win. Probably either this year or at some point in the next 3. You've mentioned this. The Yankees have to win once. That's it. I've mentioned CC Sabathia. There are plenty of other players. Hideki Matsui. We think of these names and we think, man, clutch, October performer, big game player. They won once. They won one time. They had one run.
That's the way it is.
That's how hard this is.
Everything is about the Lombardi in football.
Right. So if you're worried about year 11 of Juan Soto because he's going to be 37, by all means, worry about it. I won't worry about it because Juan Soto's job, regardless of the contract he receives, is to help the Yankees win once. And then once you've won one time, now you have the nerve to ask for a second championship. But even then, if we never win a second championship, they won't call it a failure. We'll think of Juan Soto as a winner. We'll think of Aaron Judge as a winner and a captain of a winner. That's the way this all works. So it's all about what's going to be the winning negotiation, what's going to be the winning contract. Because if you don't have the highest offer or anything close to it, you're not getting the player. And by the way, I want to transition, Jake, because I want to make sure, considering his performance today, I want to talk about Nestor Cortes.
Yeah.
So I know it's a little weird to hear $705 million and then Nestor Cortes 30 seconds later, but it's about to happen on the pod.
Yeah.
But
I love how that's the first thing you thought of. $705 million, give it to Nestor Cortes.
Nestor Cortes. I think I thought, what's the opposite thing I would do for Nestor? Oh, it's probably 705. It's probably breaking the record. So anyway, Nestor Cortes came into this game. Everyone had the expectation of there's no way the Yankees are going to lose this game. It was really a negative energy coming into game 2, no question about it. I think a lot of people were already pissed off. Even if we win game 2 and 3, it still feels negative. It felt like a series we should sweep, and they're absolutely right. We should have come in here and dog walked the White Sox. We didn't do that, right? Luis Gil just crapped down his leg. The offense left 46 guys on base. So it was despicable. But when you come into today's game, Nestor Cortes had a job to do, and he played the team in front of him. He executed his pitches. Backdoor sweeper was working to perfection. His cutter inside, we've seen it all year long. That cutter's usually poo-poo over the middle away. Hitters can do a lot with it. They can do damage. They can leave the yard at a moment's notice. That cutter was either on the corner inside or in off the plate. He established that changeup. I mean, the broadcast, I don't know how many times they were going to say it was, what would they say? It was not devastating. They say it was just sinking off the table. They said it like 46 times, but I won't criticize them. Whatever. We won the game. Changeup was brilliant. Four-seam location was excellent. Nestor Cortes was executing pitches throughout this entire game. And frankly, what I cared about, Jake, and we've talked about this, whether it be Marcus Stroman, Nestor Cortes, there are plenty of pitchers who have failed to give us length. We finally got some length today. Goodness gracious. It's so nice to see a starter go innings because frankly, when we go innings, it's a win. So want to give my props to Nestor Cortes. He did his thing.
I agree. And, I kind of alluded to that earlier. We've spent majority of this show. This is the Juan Soto show. I mean, Juan Soto unloaded. I don't know. But it was a really important day, I think, for Nestor, because if he is going to get himself to even being reliable in a bullpen at the very least in the postseason, he had to put together something like this. Hopefully this gets him going again. I think just in general, I think MLB players are very streaky. Most of them are, it seems like. But pitchers, when you get into a nice rhythm, you can really bounce from start to start and really start to find your groove. And Nestor just doesn't have a lot to work with. So if he's not excellent in his location, he doesn't have the velocity to really blow it by anybody. But I thought he did a really nice job today. And I said it. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I don't give a rip that he played against the White Sox. This is a Major League Baseball team. Like, they just won 12-2 yesterday against, I would say, the Yankees ace this year. So I'm sorry, Nestor Cortes. I'll take what he did. I was impressed. Jake Cousins, very impressed. Came in high leverage situation to actually close the game, and he did it. I thought that the slider looked great. It's just, obviously it always looks great, it seems like, but he's got that ERA down at 2.25. That was actually the best pitching move that they made this year. And that trade happened when we first started this show. So
I feel like we do this every year, don't we? Like, we just make the Yankees are good at certain things and they're just awful at others. I would say one of the things that is a feather in our cap, and Brian Cashman, I know I don't want to give him a ton of credit.
Yeah.
But one thing he's usually good at is going into the bargain bin for an organization. Oh, you don't want that pitcher? We think Matt Blake can do something with him. And we usually find like one or two guys a year where we get production that we didn't expect. And it helps the Yankees. It helps the bottom line at the very least.
OT was a trade.
Right.
So they find guys like that.
Yeah. And whether or not that's enough to be satisfied with the organization, I wouldn't say that. But you can't argue that this is not a bad thing to be able to go get a guy like Jake Cousins, to which we made a video. We actually kind of thought we wasted a video on him. It was a big video for us, but we made a whole video about the stuff that this kid had. And I can't call him a kid. He's my age, but but this dude, nasty slider, and you see it materializing as the season goes on. When he actually broke in with the Yankees, couple times he came out there, he was wild. He was walking guys. They set him down immediately. You mentioned this. And, we didn't know what type of faith. We didn't know if they were giving up on him. We had no clue. And it's interesting that the Yankees sent a player down to the minor leagues to prioritize development, and then they didn't just leave him down there to have cobwebs and rot. They actually brought him back up to have production. And to be honest with you, based on the way the bullpen's looking with Canley and Cousins, the Yankees right now seem like they're trying to figure out who to put in the circle of trust. I know you just said earlier in the show that Nestor Cortes needs to prove to us why he should be in the bullpen. Yeah, I think if I see Nestor Cortes in the bullpen, my body might shut down. I really do. I'll have irritable bowel syndrome or whatever you call it. It'll be bad. So,
yeah,
but
that's funny.
Regardless, we can't skate around the fact that Nestor Cortes was pitching in a game where no one was going to be satisfied. If he threw a no-hitter, it was against the White Sox. It doesn't count. If he loses, we would criticize him. So let's be clear. He had a lot of pressure. It's pressure to play teams like this because, frankly, the Yankees are not taking care of business against whoever they play. They play down to competition. We play the Angels. We look like the Angels. We play the Houston Astros. We look like the Astros for 2 days. Then we go play some Dookie team, and we look like Dookie. So, again, when we say that our team is a World Series championship team, you have to show characteristics of a championship title team every day. Something on the field should show that. It should peek through. And every once in a while, you watch the Yankees and think, man, they're getting picked off all the time. They don't seem like they know what they're doing on the bases. They can't throw strikes. Their closer can't close games. You really don't know who you're watching. It really even my mom will send me a text and be like, you guys really stunk today, right? Just to troll me, because she's essentially telling you guys, wow, okay, you guys don't look like a championship team. And she's right. Let's be honest. So, the whole point here is with Jake Cousins might be finding his way into the circle of trust. We have no idea what they think of him, but it's better to have him pitching well because we need more of them. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's important to realize, guys, this is a win. We didn't want to get too much into it because, again, it's against the White Sox. A game like this, you kind of pick and choose the things to talk about, what's important. Well, I'll be honest with you. If Juan Soto, for whatever reason this morning, just decided, yeah, I'm just not feeling that well, I'm not going to go today, the Yankees lose this game. They may have gotten 9 hits. 3 of them were from Juan Soto. And furthermore, he had 3 home runs, 4 RBIs. All 4 of the Yankees runs were responsible because of Juan Soto. So Juan Soto was responsible for all 4 Yankees runs. If he slipped and fell on his face and knocked himself out before the game, the Yankees lose this game. And
we probably get shut out.
Yeah, I mean,
could you imagine this podcast? People would want to kill us like we did anything. We're just podcasting. They would have been angry.
Be like, how dare you ever talk about this team in any sort of light? Yeah, so that's why this was the Juan Soto episode, because now it's time to start talk about the contract. I mean, when he has a 3 home run game where he clearly just carried this team, he's been doing this all year. And by the way, 2 home runs were opposite bombs. His opposite field power, I don't think people realize how important that's going to be come postseason. Like, it is going to be a game changer. And we have not seen somebody on the Yankees in a long time that had that opposite field power on that level. I mean, Aaron Judge obviously just has power in general, but Juan Soto, it's like an art the way he hits the opposite field. So look, I'm not going to lie to you. I really think Juan Soto is just getting started with this run. I think he's going to try and catch up. I mean, Michael Kay said it, a few broadcasts ago. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, it's like almost like a friendly competition. You get up there, you see Aaron Judge hit, Juan Soto hits a home run. Aaron Judge is like, I need to hit a home run, And it's like Juan Soto is very well aware Aaron Judge is the MVP this year. I don't think anybody would say
he knows it.
But Juan Soto knows, like, hey, this is my contract year. I'm going to make it count. He loves New York. He loves playing for this team. He loves the teammates. He wants to show out. The 3 home runs today, this was long coming, man. I'm a little surprised that the guy that hit him before was Ben Rice, of all people, but I kind of felt this coming because Juan Soto is that type of player, generational talent. And this is what ultimately you're getting when you pay him. And I want to say something, Gary, because I want to move on to Jazz Chisholm real quick, and then the playoff bracket. So Jazz, we weren't aware, obviously, because we wouldn't have been on the show saying, yeah, it sounds like he's going to be okay. He thinks he's going to be okay. Aaron Boone wasn't worried. Now, all of a sudden, it's a UCL injury, and he's going on the IL. We have no idea after that. Now, I want to make this clear. We have no idea. This could be season ending. This could be a 10-day stint. We don't know. But I have to say this because it bothers me to no end. In any sport, and maybe I'm wrong and off base, and you let me know, Gary, but to me, the fans who invest so much time and energy, the people who invest so much time and energy covering this team, any team, I think you owe it to those people to be upfront about injuries. And I don't think it does anyone any good to be like, we don't know. Why are you... See, like, I hate when teams do this because this is not just, exclusive to the Yankees. A lot of teams do this. NFL is notorious for this. But I don't know why they have to act like it's like Game of Thrones and they just found out like the king died in his sleep and they don't want to upset the townsfolk and have them go crazy and burn the city down and everything because it's like, oh, we don't know who the heir is and all that. This is how they act. It's like, well, it's best to just keep everything quiet. Jazz Chisholm, with all due respect, because I love the guy, is not Aaron Judge. He's not Juan Soto. But he is an important part of this team. And I think people have the right to know what the hell's going on. And if you didn't know last night, okay. But how does it come out today? Yeah, it's a UCL. He's going on the IL. That was completely different than last night. And you can't tell me
this is
that...
so typical of us, specifically us. I think the Yankees... The Yankees brass, what's the benefit really of it? Because that's what I'm trying to think. I know I'm thinking of it in terms of
Gary, because I know
how annoying it is.
Yeah.
But from a standpoint of advantages and disadvantages, what's the advantage?
What's the gamesmanship there? You know how they always are like, well, it's gamesmanship. No. Gamesmanship, I'll tell you this right now. When you're doing the coach speak BS and all that, like, Bill Belichick, how about this? I don't know who's starting the game because I have Russell Wilson and I have Justin Fields. Okay. And either one could start. Now, basically I'm in your head. You have to game plan for both quarterbacks. I get that, right? I get that because now that's part of the game, right? in baseball, it makes no sense.
No one's game planning for Jazz Chisholm.
We have to game plan because Jazz Chisholm could be at third, so let's hit it away from third. What? Like it doesn't make any sense. So really, it's honestly MLB teams. It's honestly
they never tell us the truth, by
God.
the way. No, and everybody knows they don't tell us the truth because remember Garrett Cole, he went down earlier this year, and a lot of people were hitting the panic button right away. They were telling us that he was having some fatigue. They were also telling us he was dealing with some elbow soreness, right? Some forearm. And we're thinking, okay, well, how's this any different than all the catastrophes you guys have walked us? You guys have slow walked us to a catastrophe. How's this different? And the answer that I was trying to help people arrive at is that there is no difference. We're guessing. We're doing guesswork. And that's interesting for podcasters to admit, but I'm not going to tell you guys that everything's going to be okay. I have no idea. When Jazz Chisholm is coming off the field, I was telling you guys, and Jake specifically was telling you guys, hey, we think this player's going to be okay, in large part from the replay we saw, not any information we received from Aaron Boone or anybody else. They don't give us information. Yeah. They will lie straight to your face.
Well, I didn't think Jazz would be a part of it. Jazz seemed like he was like, yeah, like it'll be fine. But who knows? I mean, we don't know how deep this goes. We don't know if they didn't pull Jazz aside right before everybody came into the locker room to talk to him and said, hey, Jazz, we need you to pretend that everything's going to be fine. Like, I don't know what it gains. I guess that's the thing, Gary. I'm one of those people when it comes to anything, especially technology, and I've told you this many times, I get upset when something doesn't work without an understanding of why it doesn't work. Like, why? Right. Like, why does my computer, like, randomly, the audio will, like, remember when it was crackling? I know
do remember that. Yeah, we did a whole podcast, and your thing, I told you it was popping before the show, and we're like, leave it. It'll be fine. It probably won't be in there. And people in the comment section were going berserk. Yeah. They're losing it.
No idea why it was popping. No idea.
No.
It's one of those things. It's a pet peeve of mine. I can't accept something being the case when there is a reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for my microphone pop. No, I'm kidding. There's absolutely no reason for us to not know about Garrett Cole, about Jazz Chisholm. Like, what are you trying to do? Well, then again, this is the same organization that, I'm going in on them here because I'm still bitter about this. Same organization. My dad, my brother and I go to the Yankee Stadium, and I'll be honest, like we already had tickets. I'll be honest, the weather report didn't seem great, but they let people in anyway. They waited 2 hours to call the game, sell enough chicken buckets, all that. This is that same organization that won't tell you, that won't be upfront with you. Oh, stay here. Order, dude.
Wait, they sold chicken buckets for the whole 2 hours?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's diabolical.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. You can't even sell that as anything other than diabolical. It's horrible.
Yeah, and the worst thing is, I mean, I feel like it was just paying for all the money that they owe Aaron Hicks. So, but but like, again, my biggest point here in bringing that up, there is a reason for it. There is a method to my madness. There is literally no gain by giving away. There's no gain and no loss by giving away that, hey, Jazz Chisholm might be on the IL tomorrow. And, Boone does answer questions, albeit it's very PR-esque and everything. But like today, who's going to replace him, right? He's not going to tell you who they're looking at to replace Jazz when he goes on IL. But if you happen to ask him, hey, is Oswald Peraza one of them? Now he'll give you an answer like, yeah, he's in the discussion, or no, he's not. But he's one of those guys, like, he won't tell you. And the thing I don't understand, like, really, truthfully, I don't understand, because like all you should be thinking about in that moment is Jazz Chisholm answering the question and the White Sox, because you're playing them. I'm sorry, the White Sox, the worst team in the league. Oh, well, we can't tip our hand.
Is there something that the Yankees at this point, after imaging, is there something that they don't know about Jazz Chisholm's UCL, or are they just waiting to make the decision?
I'm telling you right now, they already know.
Okay, then. So if you already know, you're
already
not
know.
benefiting in any way. Just
That's
make the
that's my
decision.
issue. Why is this? Well, he's expected to go on IL. Fans just want to know. I mean, I think it's fair. I mean, you have these fans, and we can attest. Okay, you guys are watching this show. There are people that watch this show. I go to bed at like 4 a.m. every night almost, and there are people like when I'm about to go to bed, I'll swipe up on the app and look at our views, and there's over like 200 views, and I'm like, how are this many people are watching at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning? And
Yes.
that's a Yankee fan. Okay. And you could say what you will. Well, I'm on the West Coast. Yeah, that's still late. That's still late. That means that you're dedicated, and we appreciate that. But the point I'm making is that you have these dedicated Yankee fans that just want to be in the know, that really give their all to know everything about this team. They follow the prospects. The prospects never get called up, but they continue to follow them. They have the loyalty. The least you can fucking do is let someone know, hey, okay, yeah, Jazz Chisholm, the imaging didn't go well. I mean, I think a big thing is because when it comes to the NFL, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, they get this information. We don't get. Jeff Passan will occasionally throw stuff out there, right? But we don't have an Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport with the injuries. And I've noticed that because I'll tell you right now, in my experience covering the Rams, they're one of the most Loctite organizations. They want everything to run through their website. They want to announce everything on their own. Well, Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter have blown their cover many times because they have sources, and they will be like, yeah, Cooper Kupp, we don't know about his injury. And then Ian Rappaport will come out and be like, yeah, Cooper Kupp tore his ACL. Or they fear Cooper, like something that doesn't happen in baseball.
So is there ever a day? So is there ever a day where sports in general, not just baseball, the NFL, where they just have third-party doctors just completely disobey orders and say, well, we don't care what you want to hold to your chest. We're just going to tell the public? Because let's just say they hire.
I think so. I think it happens all the time.
Third-party doctors. Now, Jazz Chisholm comes off the field. His elbow is going to be swollen. Okay. He has a UCL injury, clear swelling. So it's going to take until the following day when swelling goes down, especially after icing. Then we're going to do imaging. The second we find out that information, those third-party doctors have no way to benefit in any way possible of not telling the information. So by all means, there's the information. You don't need to ask Aaron Boone anymore. We don't need to say, hey, what do you know? You maybe can ask him a question hypothetically. If this guy goes on the IL, who do you replace him with? But there's no reason for me to have to sit there and try to politic an answer out of Aaron Boone when I know he's not going to give me a straight answer. There's reasons that they've come up with not to tell me. So I don't get why we continue to do the charade. I really don't.
I don't either.
Obviously, like
remember Clay Holmes?
What happened to Clay Holmes again?
He went on like the IL 2 years ago, and everyone's just like, what did he have the shits? Like we never found out. Like
no, I actually don't remember that. No.
Oh, you don't?
No,
okay,
I don't.
So people were like convinced that he went on IL because he was just playing bad. So they're just like, yeah, we don't know what to do with you. So they put him on the IL and gave him a 10-day break. Because he's like, yeah, I feel fine. And
the like, IL stands for infinity loser. You just suck.
And they're like, so they're asking, like these reporters are asking Clay Holmes, like, you feel fine, but why are you on the IL? And he's like, yeah, just, yeah. And it's like, no, we don't know. We have no idea. Like, so yeah, that is something that really has irked me. And I'm actually glad we were able to talk about that because you and I have talked about that off air. Again, totally understood if it had something to do with, yeah, you're going to give the upper hand to another team. You're going to give away your whatever. It doesn't make any sense. That's just how I feel. It does not make any sense. So I would say let's wrap this show by talking a little playoffs. And we'll talk more about the playoffs as the year progresses because, we're at game 122 tomorrow.
Yeah, because even like you mentioned before the show, Boston is creeping. They're creeping.
Boston's
and maybe
creeping.
Not towards a wild card. So we don't really know.
The Rays have 59 wins. They're still in it. Like, I mean, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing, Gary. And we talked about that. Like, no one has pulled away. And that's what we've been waiting for. Like, you know, people always talk about we need more parity. And then, of course, we get the parity and you have the Rangers take on the Diamondbacks and no one watches the World Series. And you're like, wow, I don't know why no one watched the World Series. Well, you didn't watch the World Series. Why did you ask for parity? Why did you ask for different? And then you didn't want to watch it. The reality is that everyone wants to watch the Yankees and Dodgers, see the Yankees and Astros, or, you know, Baltimore and the ALCS, see the Yankees and Phillies. You get where I'm going with this. They want to see big teams. They just act like they don't. It's no different than, and trust me, I was not a big fan of the Patriots, Tom Brady, whatever. It's no different than when Colin Cowherd would always bring up, you love Tom Brady. Even if you hate Tom Brady, you want him in the Super Bowl to root against him. You're hoping he makes it. And that's the same thing with the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies. People want to hate on the Yankees. Or if you're listening to the show, we do have quite a few people that don't like the Yankees and listen to the show. But if you are a Yankees fan, you want them to go to the World Series. So let's talk about it, Gary, because I did calculate the playoff bracket. So I'll let you show for it because I've been talking too long.
Okay, so right now, as it stands, in order, we're talking AL, Guardians, Yankees, Astros, Baltimore, Minnesota, Kansas City. What's crazy about that is that I actually asked you earlier, who of these 6 should feel like we're the favorites? Is it the Yankees? Is it Baltimore, who's currently sitting a half game? Because they're behind us now in the standings. We're actually a half game ahead of Baltimore. So does Minnesota feel like they have a real shot at winning a title? And the way this is all shaking out, I think we can kind of agree here, Jake. You can probably argue Cleveland, New York, Houston, and Baltimore. Those 4 teams are probably saying themselves, we're going to make it through. Like, those teams are like, it's a crapshoot at this point. And you were saying Cleveland's probably the team that thinks, yeah, we're the best team in the AL. They're the one team that is probably saying that. And I mentioned their roster. That Cleveland roster, in terms of matchups, because I don't know, how does this shake up? We're going to play who? You said the 2 plays who?
So the Guardians play the Astros, the Royals. So the Astros currently own the West right now. They own the first place in the West. So they would get an auto bid.
Okay.
So they would be not auto bid, but they'd be the 3 seed, right? The 3 seed would play the 6 seed, and the 6 seed would be the Royals, which would be the last wild card team. And Minnesota is the second to last wild card team. They would be the 5th, and then Baltimore's the number 1 wild card team currently. They would be the 4th. So the Guardians essentially are playing the 4th and 5, and Yankees play 3-6 matchup. Whoever wins that. Now,
okay, so realistically, we're trying to run into Kansas City. Let's be real here.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's Yankees, Astros. Well, actually, I'll say this. I don't see how the Yankees don't get the number 1 seed. If they, I mean, they just got to hold off Baltimore. But like the Guardians, like you even told me, the Guardians aren't that great of a team. Like they don't have an amazing
But are we
team.
Good enough to think that we are more likely than not going to outrun Baltimore? And that's where I
think that's where the strength of schedule is. Because I mean, I'll say this: they are frustrating as all get out, right?
Oh man!
But at the same time, the Orioles are too. The Yankees have way more pedigree. The Yankees have way more experience. The Yankees have way more star power in the lineup, I would say, because Judge and Soto can literally flip a game on its head, right?
That's fair.
I think we're going to get a Jason Dominguez call up like we talked about in September, which I think is going to add juice to the lineup. Chisholm, that is concerning, but my gut tells me he'll be back. I think they're being very cautious. Now we keep talking about, okay, yeah, like, you have to finish it, right? Like, can they hold them off? They are still there. It's still 71-50. Even though this team is incredibly frustrating, this is still one of the best teams in baseball. Even though this team is incredibly frustrating, we are 121 games through the season, and they are 3rd in the league right now. Okay? So they have fallen, but they haven't fallen off. They've fallen, but they haven't fallen out. We have not ever at any point during any of their bad runs, and they were horrendous after June 14th for about 2 months, almost, it felt like anyway. The Yankees, they never fell to third place. They never fell to the third wild card, the second wild card. They were always either the first wild card or they were first in the American League. And to me, to do it that long, I know it, we've seen guys choke, obviously talking about, look at any golf tournament, right? We've seen guys choke in the Masters, all that. And I understand teams have choked in the past. Like, we've seen it. But I just don't see that, because to me, I think the thing that was most dangerous about the Yankees was that June. Okay. And they did survive. Now, had the Orioles run away like they were supposed to, the Yankees, I could have seen them getting overwhelmed. Boston would have been on their heels. Boston has the tiebreaker. Now all of a sudden you're in a really bad situation. But they are now, if you told me back on June, I don't even know, let's say June 24th, right? If you told me that the Yankees would be a half game up on the Orioles on August 14th or August 13th.
We'd be thrilled. Yeah, we'd be thrilled.
So I just don't think they're really going anywhere. And that's kind of I mean that. I don't think the Yankees are about to ascend past any. I think this is going to be one of those heart-stopping races. But I think ultimately the Yankees are going to outrun Baltimore because they have an easier schedule. And I think the Guardians, who have a tougher schedule than the Yankees, and to be honest with you, aren't as good on the road as the Yankees.
I don't want to play Cleveland at all. I'm here to tell you right now, I just don't want to play them.
No.
In large part, I'll tell you why.
But I think the Yankees are getting the 1 seed currently. I really do.
That's perfectly fine.
And I think the Guardians get the 2.
But here's what worries me about this whole idea of, okay, the Yankees getting the 1 seed, strength of schedule can help facilitate that. That's a perfectly fine position to have. My worry is that the Yankees, especially since the break, have been, there's no other way to put this, putrid at home. Horrible. They have been awful at Yankee Stadium. They're not winning. Okay. So having said this, we can't simultaneously be like, oh, it's all good. We're the 1 seed. If we play Cleveland, we'll be at Yankee Stadium, so there'll be no problem, right? And I know that's not what you're saying, but it'll be a major advantage. Well, it hasn't been an advantage all year. The Yankees aren't winning games at home. Not like that. So if Cleveland comes into this series, Cleveland is 100% better than us at the back end of their bullpen. They're better than anyone. They're better than every other team in baseball at the back end of their bullpen. The only other team that's even comparable is probably Oakland. So having said this, the one other thing that gives the Yankees fits, and I know probably less so now that Austin Wells is really honed in behind the plate and really taken over that position, is the run game. Cleveland will run. They will run. Jose Ramirez will run, right?
They also have Rod Carew. Boom.
Right. Steven Kwan will run. Yeah. That's just the way that this works. So my whole thing is that matchup-wise, the Yankees don't necessarily match up with that Cleveland team well. So I'm trying to avoid them at all costs. And looking at the National League, because the National League still matters. You make it through the AL. If we get to the World Series, we're not going to care anymore that we're in the World Series. We're going to want to win the whole thing when we get there. So when you do that, look at the teams out here. Which teams are you really afraid of? Dodgers, Phillies, Brewers, D-backs, Padres, Braves. If I'm being honest with you, I'm just going to give you a couple teams I really don't want to see. I'm not terrified of the Dodgers. I'm really not. In large part of what they have in that rotation.
Oh, but I think the Yankees would beat the Dodgers if that was the World Series.
You want to know the teams I'd be worried about? If you're the Yankees, the teams you should be worried about out of the NL are the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Braves and the Padres. Those 3 teams. Those are the teams I'm worried about, because if you really think about it, look at the way the Arizona Diamondbacks are constructed. Their entire game plan is to hit for contact, run the bases like hell, like a bat out of hell, and they're heavily left-handed on the mound. Every single major starter that they sign, right? Montgomery, Eduardo Rodriguez, all of those pitchers, all left-handed. They were priming themselves to run up against the Los Angeles Dodgers in the postseason. Well, guess what? The New York Yankees against left-handed pitchers this year, awful, bad. And that's something that you'd probably want to avoid. So is it a good problem to have? Yeah. When we get to the World Series, it's a good problem to have. We're running into a bad matchup. You're still in the World Series. So that's something to be excited about. But if we could avoid it, that'd be great, Jake.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'll say this.
I also don't want to see Sale, by the way. So let's be clear.
Yeah. Well, the Yankees actually have been really good against the NL. Really good this year. They had that. How many runs did they score against the Brewers? Like they had, I think, back-to-back 15-run games against the Brewers.
I don't know. It was a lot. It felt like we scored about 30 runs.
They looked good against the Padres.
Yeah.
I think the Braves they looked good against, right?
I don't remember exactly what they did against Atlanta.
They destroyed Phillies. And the Dodgers, the Dodgers are the only team that got to play the Yankees without Juan Soto. So, that wasn't even the Yankees. But
yeah, and to be clear about that Philadelphia series, everyone's beating up on Philadelphia right now. They can't win a game. We don't know
really bizarre.
What the problem is. I'm sure if you ask Phillies fans, they'll be able to give you, okay, well, we don't have a setup man. We don't have a closer. They'll give you answers. But Philadelphia, so like we can be excited all we want about beating up on Philly. Everyone's beating up on Philly right now. So, but who's not beating up on the Arizona Diamondbacks? No one's beating up on that team. They're the best team in the Major League Baseball since the break. The best record.
I will say, I think the Diamondbacks and I think the Mets are the only teams in the NL that I wouldn't want the Yankees to play. Because the Mets, as much as I clown on them, the Yankees have not shown that they can beat them. I don't know why. I have no idea. I think the Mets have the most basic lineup ever. Aside from, Lindor, they have a bunch of like Brandon Nimmo. Like they have they have guys.
So it feels like they're the NL Boston for us because whenever we play the Red Sox, we just lose all our power. Like exactly. we just are. So we are just EMP'd. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge don't know what's going on. I know Aaron Judge had a home run last time we played him, but
they beat Arizona in the series. But I want to point something out about Arizona that they have that no one else has. This is impressive. They are 24-12 in one-run games.
Yeah.
The Yankees are 15-14, which is basically one of the best in the league in one-run games. Cleveland is 23-14. So, believe it or not, there's an expected win-loss record. Okay? I'm looking at this right now. The Yankees are expected to be 72-49. They are 71-50.
So pretty accurate.
Cleveland is expected to be 69-51. They are 71-49. They've stolen 2 games essentially. And a big reason in doing so is because late in games, one-run games, when they get to the 8th inning and they're leading, they have not lost. And that is because Emmanuel Clase, who
I was going to say, does Clase help?
We in a video, and I can't even believe you guys, a lot of you that are here probably weren't here back then because we didn't have a ton of people watching. But we said Emmanuel Clase is who the Yankees should go after at the deadline because we thought the Guardians, after they lost Bieber and Tristan McKenzie, did not look good and things just didn't look good for the Guardians early on. We're like, oh yeah, Cleveland is going to be a team to deal. And if you're going to trade for anybody at the deadline, it'd be Clase. We were so wrong. Straight out of Prometheus, if you've ever seen the movie, we were wrong. We were wrong. The Guardians are a really good baseball team. Now, they don't have like an incredible looking roster, but they get shit done. That's all that matters. I will say one thing, though. The Astros have a chance to do the most hilarious thing ever.
What is it?
They are 64-55 right now. They have won 7 straight.
Okay.
They're not that far away from the Guardians. At one point, they looked like one of the worst teams in baseball. They have a chance to sneak up and take the number 1 seed.
What did I tell you?
That is still a possibility. I know. And look, My biggest thing was they're done if they don't win this game against the Yankees. And they won that last game. And I think that saved their season. I stand by that. If they got swept by the Yankees again this year, I think it would have been over. But they turned it around in a big way.
They are cockroaches in Houston. They're not dying.
They are.
They will not die.
You know who Houston is? Houston is the Seattle Seahawks. They just stick around. They go to the playoffs when you don't expect. Like, how the hell is this team in the playoffs? They're not even that good. That's the Seattle Seahawks. Well,
we're just gonna have to spray the Astros down with like Raid or something. They will not die. Think of it this way: there's nothing you can do to stop Houston. Nothing.
It's Reggie Jackson,
Garrett Cole. Everyone said, "Oh, the Yankees got Garrett Cole." Not only are they getting Garrett Cole and adding him to their really good roster already, they're also prying Garrett Cole away from their biggest contender. It didn't do jack. Not one thing. It did nothing. We weren't better than Houston, not with Garrett Cole. We haven't been better yet, not one time. So you can talk about, oh, well, we didn't foresee emergences with this young player or that veteran. They lose George Springer to the Toronto Blue Jays. Big freaking whoop. They just put in somebody else to hit leadoff. Doesn't matter. They're just a team. Again, this is part of the reason why when you talk about
culture, Carlos Correa, Jeremy Pena. Course.
Yeah, you can just lose talent. Like, this is why the Yankees need talent. Everything needs to work out perfectly so that they can go where they want to go. But then you see organizations like the Houston Astros, outside of their cheating season, they're just finding ways to do stuff with less, and then they still have the mentality to go make the roster better. So by the time you get to the postseason, they're just a team that has characteristics of a winner. They just find a way. They'll look awful for 2 months, and people are complaining. They want to trade Bregman. Is Bregman a potential fit with the Yankees? And I told you, Jake, not only are they going to punch us back in the mouth at this game 3, to which they did, then they showed up, and they've been one of the best teams in baseball for the past 2 months. It didn't surprise me at all. I just didn't expect them to die, in large part because whenever you see a team that's always a topic of conversation, oh, that team's done. That team's done. A lot of the reason you hear those talks is because people want them to be done. It's like Tom Brady and the Patriots starting a season 0-3.
Oh, no, they're the Warriors. That's what they are. They're the Warriors.
Perfect. They're a team. They started the season 0-3. Tom Brady's Patriots. Everyone would say Tom Brady's done. He's washed. He's old. Yes, some people believe that in their heart of hearts, but in reality, people want that to be the case. They want Tom Brady to retire and look like a bozo. That's all that was. People wanted Houston to be bad. And so I knew, and trust me, I don't want Houston to be good, but let's be clear. I'm not gonna lie to you guys on a podcast and try and make it happen with my words. That's not gonna happen. It is what it is. This is baseball. They have championship pedigree, and unfortunately we don't. So we need to go earn that. Let's go do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to see Juan Soto in October because he does have that. And
hopefully Jazz Chisholm.
Why does it feel like people forget that Juan Soto won a World Series?
Well, I mean, was he 20 years old? And he was also playing for the Washington Nationals. So yes, championships matter with all teams, but I don't know. People don't really talk about World Series championships in baseball. People don't really talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers winning a championship. They don't talk about it.
They don't talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers winning a championship because it was a abbreviated season. Or you don't follow Dodgers fans like I have to because I cover that.
Yeah, you're a Rams creator. Makes perfect sense. But how many people, when the Texas Rangers come to the stadium, let's say at Yankee Stadium, how many people treat it like, oh, these are the champs? It's not like football where the Kansas City Chiefs go win a Super Bowl and then they come in and everyone's more rowdy because they're here.
It's kind of funny you say
nobody's at the stadium to see the Rangers at Yankee Stadium.
No. If they were good, then okay. But Michael Kay brought that up on the thing. I actually had forgotten. So I knew the Rangers won the World Series, right? I knew that. I was rooting for the Diamondbacks. I thought Diamondbacks winning would have been better for baseball personally. But I knew the Rangers won the World Series. However, you kind of forget, over time. And Michael Kay brought it. He's like, the Yankees take on the defending champion Rangers. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard that used ever. So I was like, wow, Michael Kay, thank you, because I totally forgot that they won. Like I knew it, but I forgot because like time had passed.
It's not like that in baseball. People don't talk about it. You might talk about like a dynasty organization, like way down the road when the players are retiring and going to Cooperstown, but people don't you don't look at the Giants and think, oh, 2012, 14, and right? Like 2010, 12, and 14. You don't do that. Like you just don't think that way. You see organizations a lot of times, you know what the talks are in baseball? That team hasn't won in this many years. That's the way it's talked about. You don't look at the Red Sox and think, oh, since 2004 or 2001, 4-time champion. I don't look at the Red Sox that way. In baseball, I feel like we tend to kind of look at individuals, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Garrett Cole. That's just kind of the way you look at these teams. You look at the star power, the matchups. It's not like football. It's not like any of these other sports like hockey, where you'll see the Tampa Bay Lightning go win 2 Stanley Cups in a row, and you start considering them as like the top dog. That's not baseball. So, yeah, the Yankees need to win once. Let's go.
Baseball, people actually know like bullpens and stuff, and that's like if you talk to like the casual football fan, do they really know like the entire special teams unit? Probably not.
No, they know who's on their fantasy football team. That's about it.
I knew that was coming.
I mean, come on now. You know this to be the case.
So Juan Soto in the World Series against Houston, by the way, 7 games because it was a 7-game series. He had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 5 walks. He batted .333 and had an OPS in the 1100s, 20 total bases. Do you think Houston wants to see Juan Soto in the playoffs? Absolutely not. I do think really what it hinges on, because the Yankees are making the playoffs. I have no doubt. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if they go in, a bad, whatever. They are going to make the playoffs. And I think there's a very good chance they're going to be off in the wild card round. I think that they're going to get one of the 2 seeds. I think they're going to win this division because the Baltimore Orioles have shown us that they just do not want to win this division, apparently. They constantly blow it. And the Yankees were horrendous. I mean, horrendous. If Baltimore won half of the games they were supposed to win, this wouldn't even be close. So I look at it as like, yeah, I think the Yankees are going to win it. And I think there's a chance they get the 1 or the 2. And to be honest with you, I think it all hinges on Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has not done enough in the postseason. If Aaron Judge is hitting, you have Giancarlo Stanton, who hits well in the postseason. You have, of course, I don't have to tell you, Juan Soto, who's hit well in the postseason. He wasn't great with the Padres. I know he got a lot of flack for that, but you get my point. So you have those guys. You have Glaber, who's hit well in the postseason. I mean, I really feel like Aaron Judge, and this is never talked about because he's so incredible. He's the best player in baseball. But his postseason has not been good. And I think
no one talks about that.
No, but I think it needs to be talked about. If we're going to talk about
we will.
If we're going to talk about the postseason, I think it's fair to bring up. And the reality is that Aaron Judge in the postseason is a .211 hitter in 44 games. His OPS is below 800. That's not Aaron Judge. No. So, I mean, his 4 games against Houston, the last time he was in the playoffs, he batted .063.
Yeah,
he had a 180 OPS. This guy is capable of so much more, okay? And I really do believe that we have seen him turn into a better hitter. That was 2 years ago, Gary. I think he's going to be much different this year, but I think it all really rides on him because I think the Yankees are equipped to win any game in the postseason with what they have bat-wise. I really believe that.
Okay.
Well, time will tell. We'll see what ends up happening. But in conclusion, I really wanted people, like, because, I had the idea to talk about the postseason bracket. I really want people to understand how wide open this is. Like, this isn't one of those, oh, yeah, just write the Yankees off. There's a clear, they're not getting past this guy. No. This isn't like a 38-0 college basketball team, number 1 overall seed, no, like UConn, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, no one's going to beat UConn. And no one beat UConn 2 years in a row, by the way. Like, it's not that. There's not a giant, Goliath in the field.
No, there's no Goliath. I don't care who. I understand the Dodgers, like when they get Betts back and Freeman, right, and Ohtani. I mean, it's incredible what their top 5 can do, but they're a flawed team. Let's be
they're a flawed team.
They're a flawed team. I can't stand you. So if you really think about it, there's no scary team out there. We're not scary. Baltimore, they're sure as hell not scary. The most exciting player, I mean, come on. They're not scary. They can beat us, no question about it. But all of these teams can beat each other. And is that Brian Cashman's fault for not maybe doing more in a season, frankly, where if we had done more, maybe we could have just ran away with the whole league. So you can make that argument.
I think it's fair.
And I also think it's fair for us to bring up Aaron Judge's numbers in the postseason, because if you haven't been a great player in October, this isn't personal. We're going to mention the numbers. And if you want to change that, just go do it. Do it this offseason. Do it this year. We're expecting to be there in October. So what better time is there to flip the script than now? You're considered the captain of the Yankees. You've got an insane running mate in Juan Soto, who's probably in any other year, if you didn't exist, would have won AL MVP this year. So, having said that, go do it. Because I don't want anyone thinking, oh, is this personal about Aaron Judge, or why are you picking on people? No, we don't pick on anybody. We'll make fun of someone every once in a while if they're that bad, like Delos Meatballs. But
how did he not get DFA'd? The world may never know.
We have no idea. But if somebody is a great player for this organization and they're just not delivering the status quo of what we expect from that player, we have to talk about it. Doing anything other than that, I feel like it's propaganda, so we won't be a part of it. Oh, and by the way, since we won today, I know it wasn't a great win, but a win is a win. We're now a first-place team. I'm going with a great film, a 1997 film from Michael Douglas, The Game. If you are still here on the show, The Game in the comment section. Great movie.
I have not seen it.
Oh, it's incredible.
So
you have to see it.
It's on my list, actually.
Yeah. I told you Interstellar, and you haven't seen Interstellar, which you should be tarred and feathered. That's
2 hours and 45 minutes, bro.
You should be tarred and feathered.
It's so funny I said that. Isn't he so nice to me, guys? I just said that the other day. I said that the other day. No, I said that earlier today to my roommate. And I said that, in some capacity. And he never heard that term before. So I had to explain the term.
Tarred and feathered?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
The more you know.
Yeah. So The Game in the comment section. If you comment The Game, we'll know you were here at the very end. And I feel like we do this bit. I really wonder how many people start our show, fast forward to the very end, see the movie, comment, and then go back to the beginning and watch the show.
I think
there's got to be somebody.
I think there's a decent amount, but that shows that they're dedicated. Because they essentially they did it, but then they still watch the show. I think we have a little bit of both, but yeah, I don't know. But I mean, we could trip them up too, because we could wait like 10 minutes after you say the thing, and then say a different movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll do. In the middle of the show, I'm gonna say, hey, just to trick the idiots.
You're not idiots.
we're gonna be like, hey, in like the 42nd minute of the show, we'll say, hey, the dingles who fast forward to the end to cheat, we're going to tell them it's Planet of the Apes, but really it's gonna be Lord of the Rings. And so if we see Planet of the Apes at the end of the show, we'll know they cheated. It's brilliant. So my high school history teacher did this to us. They actually leaked a fake cheat sheet for the final. And it went around the school. And what's funny is I didn't use it because I was so afraid to get caught because I was such a bad cheater on tests. I was awful. Like the teacher would look at me and I'd be like just horrible at it. I was so bad. So I was so afraid. He was
Eniel de los Santos are cheating.
I really was. So I was so afraid to cheat. My teacher gave me an A+ on the final just by not cheating. If you didn't cheat, there was literally one bubble, which was like C on like question 52. If you bubbled C which the cheat sheet said it was C. Literally, it says, "Did you cheat on this exam?" Yes. Swear to you.
I love that.
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, I was the De Los Meatballs of cheating in high school. So
well,
yeah.
no, because it worked out in the end. So
it did work out in the end. I was like one
of
the only like people who actually got a good grade. So yeah, the game.
I love it. Who was the one dude on the Yankees that had the trick, the hidden ball trick? That was you.
Who had the hidden ball trick?
Was it Glaber? They got somebody like 2 weeks ago with the hidden ball trick.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was though.
But yeah, that was you. Hit the game in the comment section if you made it this far. We love you. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And also let us know your thoughts on the postseason. No expletives, I guess, and no hate, because we're not saying that the Yankees are going to win the World Series. And we know there are a lot of people that would rather the Yankees don't come close to the World Series so they could get mad. But no, all jokes aside, we appreciate you guys, and that's going to do it.
And like this video.